Nick Tall here. We're starting off with questions and their uses. And there are three main types of questions that we're going to talk about right here. And it's open or closed questions, primary or probing questions, and neutral or leading questions. And we're going to start off with open or closed questions, mainly open to start, and we'll get into closed. Open questions basically are when an interviewer asks a question that doesn't call for a certain type of response from the person that they're interviewing, and they can be very general, broad answers. They can kind of go into all the detail that they want to go into, and they can make the answer as long and as short as possible, or not as possible, but as long as short as they want. And there are different types of open questions, like there's highly open questions and moderately open questions, which we're about to get into right now. And a highly open question is a question such as, how was your vacation? Like I put on my PowerPoint, that, they can tell you all the detail they want about it. They can tell you all the details they need to discuss. And they can also leave out anything that they don't want to talk about, which is a little general. Moderately open questions are kind of like a highly open question, but they have a little bit of more restriction. Like instead of saying how was your vacation, it would be like, where did you stay on your vacation? So, it's still broad, or how is the place you stayed at on your vacation might be a little better even. And some advantages of open questions is that, it encourages lengthy, honest answers, and the person that you're interviewing can give you the information that they think is the most important to this subject. And when you ask a question like this, it doesn't really attack them. It's just kind of a general question, that isn't going to really raise any alarms. But disadvantages would be that people could give long answers, and they could give a really long answer, and then at the end of this answer you didn't get the information that you wanted to, which is going to cause you to ask more questions or run out of time and not get the information that you had originally wanted to get when you started the interview. And the next thing we're going to talk about is closed questions, and they're more narrow. They kind of lead the person to a certain length of response. The interviewer restricts the kind of response that they're going to get from the person. And to start a moderately closed question, ask for a specific piece of information, but still can be broadened past a single word answer, such as like, what are your favorite TV shows, as I put. They could either say like, they could give one TV show, or they could give 5 different TV shows and still fulfill the question. But a highly closed question would be something like, what is your favorite TV show? Which is clearly pretty much a one TV show response. And like I put, how much are you asking for this laptop? It's a set in stone response. There's no real wiggle room in the response. Like, you're not going to ask, how much do you want for this laptop, and they're going to give you a long, lengthy answer. It's going to be concise and to the point. Closed questions can also be bipolar, which means they can only give there's a certain there's a distinction between the two answers that's very broad, like they're polar opposites. As I put, like, if you were asking someone which party they like, Democrat or Republican, there's no, it's a black and white answer. There's no in between. Or just a yes or no question is a good example of a bipolar response or a bipolar question. Advantages and disadvantages. Closed questions allow the interviewer to control the length of the answers that the respondent gives to them. Another advantage is the responses are a lot easier to take note of. They're a lot easier to replicate. They're a lot easier to tabulate, and it's easier for other interviewers to take these same types of questions down and use them for themselves if they're trying to reproduce these types of interviews. Disadvantages are you can sometimes not get the information that you wanted when you're asking these real closed questions. It also doesn't tell you, like, why someone feels the way they do about something. Like, if you ask someone whether they're Democratic or if they're a Democrat or a Republican, it's not going to tell you why they are Democratic or Republican. Like, all you're getting is the facts. Primary and probing questions is the next thing we're going to talk about here. Primary questions are basically all the questions that we've covered so far. They introduce a topic or a new area, that you're going to talk about, and even if this was taken out of context, it would still make sense. Like, what made you want to be a geologist? I could ask that question in any scenario and nobody would be lost. However,